about the funding opportunities that are available through DAD. I will focus on our internship program, the RISE internship program, but I will also mention other opportunities that are available to you, maybe now or maybe later in the future. Generally speaking, you will receive health insurance with your grant, and you will either receive a monthly stipend or a lump sum depending on what kind of program you participate in. All right, and then also if 9 of you, 8 or 9 speak German, for the rest of you who are in the audience, German is not required for most of our programs, so you really can't participate without any knowledge of German, and there is even the opportunity for you to learn a little bit if you are interested. Now, let's get to the main part of this presentation and talk about the RISE internship. And RISE stands for Research Internships in Science and Engineering. The internship is really a great opportunity for you to use the summer break to build your resume for your professional and or academic career. And even in the natural sciences these days, as you probably have heard from maybe career advisors, maybe from your peers, maybe from your professors, is that an international internship or an international experience definitely will set you apart from other applicants. And not only that, but being in a research environment, working with researchers from different countries will definitely also be a personal experience that will be very enriching. And in addition to that, as I think also not irrelevant, is that you will be paid for your internship. Details I will talk about here in a little bit, but for most of for the internship here, you will have to cover your airfare to Germany, but everything else should be is covered. Now, the duration of the internship is somewhat flexible. It's 10 to 12 weeks. I do have a phone caller here, I see, who, if you could, I hear a little bit of breathing and air coming through. If you could,
Can you hear me?
yeah, if you could mute yourself, that would be great. There's a
Sure.
little bit
Thanks.
too much background information. Perfect. All right. So the duration is 10 to 12 weeks, but the starting date is flexible. You can start as early as mid-May and as late June. This is it really depends on your schedule and also on the schedule for the student that you're working with. It's 10 to 12 weeks maximum, and you can apply right now. Well, not right now, but once you get home, you can apply right away. The database opened November 1st, and the deadline is coming up here in 2 weeks, December 15th. It is a web-based matching process, which means that once you go to the DAD RISE website, you will have to create an account, just providing your email address and a password, and then you have access to the more than 300 available internships in that database. You can see here in that pie chart, most of the internships are available in the field of engineering, but then we have also biology and physics very dominant, and then there's also chemistry and earth sciences. And we do also now have, for the summer of 18, a new field, computer science. So we didn't have that last year. That's why it's not represented in that pie chart. But if you are in the field of computer science or you have friends in that field, you can let them know that the internship is also available for them. Okay, so talking about more of the details, the scholarship, there's a little mistake here. It's 750 euros, so it's more than $750. It would be more like $850 at this point, $850. And you will get health insurance and also travel lump sum for the travel within Germany. And you will need that for in a RISE meeting, which usually happens in Heidelberg, where you will meet other DAD representatives and also all the other interns that are posted throughout Germany. So it's a really great opportunity for you to network and to also find friends to travel with, maybe during your internship on the weekend or at the end of your internship. Yeah, as I said, the registration is online, available on the dad.de RISE website. The requirements are you have to be enrolled at a university in the field of biology, chemistry, physics, earth sciences, or engineering, or in computer science or closely related field. You have to be an undergraduate who will have completed at least 2 years of a degree program by the time of the placement. And you will have to prove that you are registered at least in the fall of 18 as an undergraduate. As I said earlier in my presentation, international students are eligible. So if you are an international student or if you have friends that are international students, let them know that they can apply for this internship as well.
Hey, Hani, this is Dr. Monikert.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this year is the first year that you guys have moved up the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
It should be December through January.
Mm-hmm.
Does that get what it's going to be in the future?
Yes, so we did have our deadlines in January previously, but we realized that between, well, mid-December and early January, a lot of students aren't even on campus. So for them, it's really hard to talk to their professors potentially about recommendation letters, and also to allow more time for students to prepare for their internship. We now decided for both RISE and RISE Professional to have the deadline December 15th. So definitely check the website for any changes. If there are changes, we will communicate that early on. But we will likely have the next deadline next year, also mid-December. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Connie, I have a question as well.
Yeah.
I received from a student by way of email, and she was wondering if there are specific questions that you want addressed in the faculty recommendations, or is it just a general letter of, whatever they think is relevant?
Mm-hmm. I would like to actually take that question more towards the end, because I will address that once I'm done with the generally talking about the funding opportunities, because there are other grants that I'm going to talk about, and the application process is somewhat similar. And I will talk about like best practices for a successful application.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So the second RISE internship is our RISE professional internship. As the name suggests, this is a professional internship working for a German company. So this is not so much an internship in like research, where you would work in a lab or maybe in the field outside of a lab. But this is really a work internship at one of the leading companies. I have a few logos here for companies you may have heard of, but there are really a lot of companies that participate all over Germany, smaller companies as well. And this is a summer or fall internship. This is 10 to 12 weeks for graduate students. So you may not be eligible to participate in this internship right away if you're an undergraduate. But if you are thinking about graduate studies in the US, you may want to consider applying for the RISE Professional internship. And if you are going to apply for the RISE undergraduate internship and you participate in the program, you are eligible to apply for the RISE professional one. So you don't have to make a decision and decide whether you want to do one or the other. You can apply for the RISE professional if you are a RISE alumnus or alumna. The same is true here for the fields that are eligible. With this one, I did check the database last week. There are quite a number of internships that don't require any German at all. There may be some where you may need a little bit of German, but here it really depends on the internship. With the RISE undergraduate internship, you don't actually need any German whatsoever. The language in the lab is English, but if you do speak English, if you want to improve your German, then of course you can speak German and just tell your advisor that you would actually like to improve on your German and speak a little bit while you're there. As part of the RISE Pro and the RISE undergraduate, RISE Germany internship, if you don't know any German but are very interested in learning a little bit of German, you are eligible to apply for a 2-week intensive language course that's prior to the internship, basically where you learn about the basics. Your salary will be 250 euros for graduates, so master students or master students, or 500 euros for PhD students, plus 500 euros from the host company. So that will be 250 euros in total for graduate students and 1,000 euros for PhD students. You will also receive health insurance and also travel reimbursement for the RISE meeting, and that's really an all paid for meeting in Germany. The RISE professional meeting last year was in Cologne, which you can see here on the picture. So it may be in Cologne again next year, but my colleagues may decide to host it in some other city. But certainly this is, again, a wonderful opportunity for you to network and also to learn more about other campuses in Germany and meet other interns and other companies. Now, the deadline here again is also December 15th. All internships are listed on our website, and you can just go through the database. It has a detailed description of the internship, and you can get in touch with the internship provider. Which actually is something that I would highly recommend. I'm sorry, my dog just walked in here again. I have to take her outside. Give me just 1 second. I'll be back in just a brief moment. Apologies for that. That's what happens when you do work from home and you have kids or animals. All right. So yeah, here's the requirements for the application is very similar to the ones for our undergraduate internship opportunity. You have to be enrolled for the RISE professional. It would be master's or PhD program in the field of biology, chemistry, physics, or sciences, or engineering, or a very closely related field. And really, when you look at the internship opportunities for RISE Germany, so the undergraduate program, or RISE professional, some of those internships may not be listed in biology. They may be listed in chemistry. So I would really invite you to go through all the internships that are available and look at opportunities that are available, and don't just limit yourself to maybe one field, and just really keep an open mind about the opportunities that are out there. If you are if you do participate in our DAD Rise Germany internship, and you continue to be a student at a US institution, and you are interested in adding another internship on the professional level, you are also on the undergraduate level eligible to apply. This is really limited to alumni. So if you are participating in the program, you're interested in that, you would be eligible as well. Otherwise, you would have to be a grad student. And I'm going to mention our Rise Worldwide program, so maybe you can talk to your professors about this. This is the reverse program for American universities to host German undergraduate students. So this is also a great opportunity for you to really talk to German students, collaborate with them, and have a more international kind of feel on your campus. So if you talk to your professor about opportunities that are available, you may want to mention that as well, just on the side note here. So the Rise program is a program where you apply for a program, you apply for an internship, and you also receive the funding for it. Earlier in this presentation, I mentioned to you that Germany does have a lot of research institutes that are affiliated with universities. Some of them are independent, and they do also have interns that apply independently. But oftentimes what they will say is, yeah, we're happy to have you as an intern, but we're not able to pay you. So they will oftentimes then refer you to us and say, well, we're happy to have you, but apply for funding through DAD. And so this is what you would do. You would apply for a research grant that's available to mostly graduate students, master's, PhD students, or postdocs, but this is also available to you if you are a graduate from a bachelor's program and you, for example, would like to do a gap year in Germany prior to maybe continuing with a graduate degree in the US. And so you definitely will have to do a well-defined project. This is something you would have to research on your own. You would have to communicate with your mentor, and you would have to have a position secured at a research lab, and ideally would have an invitation from the institution that they will host you. There are two deadlines for this specific grant. One deadline only for the long-term grant, but there are two deadlines for the short-term grant, 1 to 6 months. November is the one for the short-term and the long-term, and May is the one for the short-term only. And again, this is available really on most of the academic levels. And even if you've received this grant previously, you are able to apply for this again. And if you are potentially thinking about a academic career, you can receive research funding as an undergraduate or if you just graduated as a graduate student. But we do have a very similar program, a little shorter, but a similar program for faculty members. So you can go back to Germany later on if you do decide to continue with an academic research career. So your application to DAD is mostly going to be online. There may be a portion you will have to send in to either the Bonn office or the DAD New York office. You will find the information on the respective websites. For all of our applications, you definitely need to apply why Germany is critical to your academic and professional goal. You have to show passion for the topic and demonstrate research experience. And this is particularly true for the RISE internships, because the mentors that you would work with, they look at the application as well. And of course, they do prefer students who have a little bit of research experience that is relevant in the field and for the project that the student is going to work on. In most cases at this point, you will only need one letter of recommendation, but there may be two, so make sure to read the guidelines. But in most cases, it's only one recommendation letter. And for that, of course, we want to know how does your professor know you? And also the recommendation letter should reflect your research interest, your interest in the RISE program, if that's what you're applying for. And really, it should be a detailed kind of letter to really reflect on the relationship, also the professor as with you, and like that he's worked or she worked with you, that he or she really knows what your interests are. And I know that for undergraduate students, it may be very difficult to actually know professors from courses. I assume a lot of you will have worked more with teaching assistants than with the professors. And if that's the case, I highly recommend you get in touch with professors. Even if you never had a class with a professor, you can go to the office hours and can just talk about your research interests, what you've done at Brigham Young so far, and what your interest is in the internship that you're applying for, or the research you're applying for, and talk about your goals. And maybe the professor will require you to bring your transcripts, maybe some work samples, maybe some research papers, so that he or she can evaluate it better. But it's definitely not unheard of for professors to write a recommendation letter for students if the professor has never had the student personally in class. Because I know that in a lot of cases, even though you may have had the professor in the class, oftentimes the classes are very large and you may not just in your class time have had the chance to really connect with a professor. So even if you have a professor in class, I definitely recommend you go to office hours, you talk to your professor before or after class, and to really get a quality letter of recommendation. So it's not just a very generic one, because the committee will definitely tell. And the ideal recommendation letter will reflect your research proposals. So I would also recommend, even though it's not the final draft, to really send a draft of your internship proposal or your research proposal to your professor. For the RISE internships, you can apply to 3 internships at a time to really maximize your chances. And you would then write 3 cover letters, really then specifically addressing the individual internships you're applying for. For yes.
And you may be getting to this. If you are, that's great. Last year when we held this, there was some discussion about the strategy on applying for the internships. So basically, what I remember is that maybe a recommendation to identify one that might not be as popular of a location, meaning that it's not some of the big, German locations. Is that still something that you recommend?
Yeah, so we don't have, so when it comes to kind of the success rate, it's not a kind of one success rate that I can give you, because it's, as I said, there are more than 300 internships that are available. And so each internship will be offered to one student. And so from experience, oftentimes when there are internships offered in one of the big cities, the well-known cities like maybe Hamburg, Berlin, Munich, there are most likely going to be a lot of applicants, and that may be maybe 70 applicants, maybe more. But then there may be internships that are hosted at smaller universities, maybe smaller towns. And maybe it's not necessarily the location, but it's the internship itself that where maybe the topic isn't as popular, or it doesn't sound as interesting right away. So you can really maximize your chances by strategically planning your application, by choosing your number one internship that really checks all the boxes. But then I would also look at internships that are potentially in smaller towns, or maybe they deal with a topic that may not be as well known. And really, when it comes to the internship, you don't have to be an expert in the field. You don't have to have research experience specifically in this field. But if you, for example, if the internship asks for you to work with a special instrument, or if the internship requires like field work, if you do have that, it's certainly an advantage to you, but you don't have to have you don't have to be an expert in that field. That's part of the internship experience to learn more. So you can also, if you're not very familiar with this specific topic, you can do your research and really learn about something, and then include that in your application to really maximize your chances. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we do have on specifically for the RISE program, we have a website where you can read reports from interns who participated in the program. It's separated by field, so you can really choose the report that's relevant to your field and learn a little bit more about what the students did and how they their maybe daily routine was like as an intern. And you can also use that, of course, and when you apply for the internship. And then for the RISE internship, but then also for other funding opportunities, we do have an FAQ page where we really answer a lot of the questions that we get on a regular basis. So our offices are there to answer your questions, but I encourage you to go to our website and really go through the information, make sure you know what the deadline is, and not only what the deadline is, but also what the time is, because our deadlines are German time. So if a deadline is, say, December 15th, you may not have until December 15th, 11:59 p.m. Utah time. You may only have until 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. because the deadline is 11:59 p.m. that day in Germany. So just some of the things that really are important that a lot of students sometimes forget, and they focus on other things, is to really follow the guidelines and follow the instructions. When it comes to the application and the formatting, there is no particular format that we ask for, like the letter that you're writing, like in terms of font that we ask for, like the spacing. Really here, use the format that's also standard in your field and that you would also use if you were to submit a research paper or something for your professor for class. So those were the tips for the RISE program and for the research grant, and those were the ones that specifically Heather asked me to talk about during this presentation. But I also just wanted to briefly mention a few other opportunities for you to keep in mind. If you are an undergraduate student and you are interested in studying in Germany for 1 semester or for 2 semesters, really available in any field. You can go with a program through the university, or if it's offered through your university to go independently or through a third-party provider, you can apply for funding through DAD for undergraduate scholarship. For that, you also receive 750 euros a month, health insurance, and here you even do get the flight, the international flight to Germany. So really most of what you would have to pay is covered here. The deadline is January 31st. And for that, you don't have to be already enrolled in a program. You only would need to know where you want to go. And this is, as I said, open to all fields. And this is available for students either studying in German or in English. So that really doesn't matter. And then if you do want to continue with your education and are maybe looking for an international graduate experience, you can apply for the study scholarship either as part of your full MA program in the US to study 1 year in Germany, or even for full master's. And here the same applies. You don't have to be enrolled into a program. You just need to know where you want to go. And for the study scholarship, you can apply as a senior and up to 6 years after graduation. So you can apply in your final year if you wanted to continue right away with grad school, or you can take your time, do something else first, and then apply at a later point. But keep in mind that our funding opportunities, the deadlines are usually about a year in advance. And so also for the undergraduate scholarship, the next deadline, January 31st, is the funding opportunity available for fall or for the winter semester 18 in Germany, or the spring semester or summer semester 19. So you have to think a little bit ahead. And then finally, there are two grants, one specifically for those who do speak some German. You may want to consider applying for the intensive language course grant. The deadline is tomorrow for this year or for the next summer, but it is available every year. And so for that, you need to have about 3 semesters of German as a base. And that can be experienced through either because you know it through family, through travel, through high school experience, maybe you spend some time in Germany. So you just have to be on that level, and then you can apply for funding for 8 weeks in Germany to really do an intensive language course. The only requirement here additionally to the German experience would be that you can be a German major or minor, but it looks like students in the room are natural science majors, so you would fit in perfectly for that. And then finally, the summer course grant is an opportunity for you, not in the natural sciences, but really anything related to Germany, like history, economics, literature, culture. So if you just want to study abroad for a little bit, or if you maybe want to add a little bit of extra credit for some of the courses, if they can transfer, you can apply for the summer course grant. December 1st is the deadline here, and for that you would have to have about 4 semesters of German requirement, because the language here would be German and you would be studying at a German university in German. For details, you can visit the dad.org website. We have for each funding opportunity, we have an individual page with the eligibility requirements, what you will get out of the scholarship, and also how to apply. And finally, you can also go to funding-guide.de for a database that's hosted on our DAD website that has more information on the DAD grants, but also other funding opportunities. And then there are other funding resources or websites where you can look up information about funding opportunities. And then in addition to the DAD websites, the study-in.de website is a wonderful resource with information for students who are interested in studying in Germany, and also research in Germany. And that is a website for students that are interested in research in Germany. Mostly that's for the graduate and postgraduate and then researcher level. But if you know that you may want to get into the academia, or you want to do research after you graduate, you can already look at the website and look at the resources that are available. Specifically, if you're, for example, if you're looking for an internship opportunity at a research institute. And now only a few links to our social media pages if you're interested in subscribing to our newsletter. Every week we send out a newsletter on Friday. On top of each newsletter is always a section with upcoming scholarships and the deadlines, so you won't miss that, and also other events that we host and other fun information. And then, of course, we're on the other social media channels if you want to connect with us. If you, we have time now for questions, but if you do have additional questions later on, you can get in touch with me via the email address, or you can call me. And if you happen to be in San Francisco at some point, you come to San Francisco, you want to talk to me in person, feel free to get in touch and we can make an appointment. My office is actually just a few steps left to the Dragon's Gate, so you can combine sightseeing with some information on DAD and studying or doing research in Germany. So with that, we now have time to answer a few of your questions. And that can be, by the way, that can be very specifically for the funding opportunities that we offer, but also just general information about studying in Germany or doing research in Germany, which I didn't address in this presentation now. But if you have very general questions, feel free to ask those as well.
So at the very beginning, you mentioned undergraduate research with German institutions. You mentioned that you have to get in contact with those institutions and then apply to DAAD for funding. Is there any sort of established way to get in contact with those institutions? Do we just go to their website? How would you suggest we do that?
Yeah, so you would definitely, I mean, there are several ways. I would, first of all, if you're interested in doing research in Germany, I would ask your professors or the teaching assistants that you work with, and ask them if they potentially have contacts in Germany, or if they know of German researchers that are dominant in the field. And ask for either their personal contact information if they have them, or if they can introduce them virtually to you. Or you can, if you, for example, read articles and you come across a name over and over again, and you're really interested in maybe doing like an internship in that program, you can go to the website and then find out the information and then get in touch with that person, or just generally find out where research is done. And for that, actually, the Research in Germany website does have very specific information and databases where you can look up contacts in your fields, and you can find out where they do the kind of research that interests you. And yeah, then it would be sending an email asking about the opportunities for an internship, and if that's available in general, if you could send your like a cover letter and your CV and with more information. I would, if you most of those institutes will likely not have open internship positions. Some may have that, but if they don't have it, it doesn't mean that they don't offer it. It would just mean that you would have to be proactive. And for that, I would just send an email, just generally inquire about the opportunities. And once they get in touch with you and say, yes, this is an option, then you can send your CV and cover letter with more information about what you're looking for and also the time frame.
What's generally the time frame from the date of the application proposing to finding out whether or not you were accepted?
For Rise, so since this year it's a little bit different, and it's about a month prior to the deadline last year. So last year the deadline was January 15th, And students found out it really depended on the internship, because some internships had a lot of applicants, as I said, and for that it took a little bit longer. But you can expect a decision as early as mid-March, or early March now, and as late as early April. But again, it may be a little bit earlier this year, of course, since the holidays are in between, and the offices are closed between like the Christmas holidays and the New Year's. There won't be anything happening there, but it will likely be a little earlier this year. So hopefully by the end of March, all students will have been notified. And so for you, if you maybe apply and a friend applies as well, and maybe some other person applies, and you know of other students already knowing about like if they got accepted or not, and you haven't heard anything, please be patient, because we don't generally send out notifications to all students for all internships. Sometimes it really takes a little bit, and then it's really depending on the internship. So just because you haven't heard from us, it doesn't mean that you're not accepted, or that you won't get a reply at all.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mhm.
So I'm graduating in April 2018, and I'm hoping to start grad school in the fall.
Mhm.
So I wonder what program to apply to.
So you're saying you're graduating in April and you're hoping to start grad program in the fall of 18?
Uh,
Um, with that, send me an email, because some, like for us, the regulation, like the eligibility requirements changed, because you're going from an undergraduate to a graduate program. Um, you may not be eligible for the undergraduate program. And I don't know if you would be eligible for the grad program. You may be. To confirm, shoot me an email, um, just with a brief question, and then I will forward that to my colleagues to confirm whether or not you'd be eligible. But if you are a graduate student, then definitely the year after that you will be eligible for then the Brys Professional to work at a German company.
okay.
Honey, this is Dr. Warren again. They also have one other option I'll just throw out that is to delay graduation until August, and you can use that. Basically, it's going to be your last experience. So,
Hmm.
I also have a quick question. So when it comes to that doing a research opportunities in Germany, you're saying that we'll be paying for the airfare to fly there,
Hmm.
working as a research assistant wherever it is. Will we being paid for that? Is housing? Do we also pay for housing?
So the 700 euros that you will receive specifically for the RISE program, but any other grant that you receive from DAD, um, covers your living expenses, or should cover your living expenses. So for the RISE program, you receive housing assistance, which means that likely your mentor will provide you with information on where to find housing. If that's not the case, then we will help you, and then you would pay for your housing with the scholarship that we provide. And so, if you receive 750 euros, as I said earlier, in most cases, a room in most cities is about 300 euros. Um, and so you would cover that from the living expenses or the living like the scholarship that we offer. And in the cities that are a little bit more expensive, like Munich or Hamburg, you would actually even get a little bit more of housing assistance to cover the additional costs.
Did I hear you right, honey, that the latest you can start a program is June?
Yeah, so the latest possible starting point will be late June. The reason for that is because the all grantees meeting is early July, and of course we want all interns to participate. So between mid-May and late June is when students can start, and that can be negotiated with the host. But late June is the latest possible date, yes. At least for the RISE undergraduate. For the RISE professional one, it's a little bit more flexible since that is also possible in the fall.
So what that means is for those of you that want to do spring term, if you were accepted, then you can do spring term and still do this during the summer.
Mm-hmm. When is your the last day of class for the spring semester?
I want to say it's, I should know this, around the 18th, 20th, something like that.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if in so then you would certainly have time if you have exams, for example, or if you don't want to leave for your internship right away, you certainly have some time in between the last day of class and not graduation, but maybe exams that you have to take and the start of your internship.
Any other questions? Okay. I think we're ready to wrap up. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And again, if you do have questions, here is my contact information again. Use the resources that are online. There's really a lot out there, and I can only encourage you again. There are a few of the young ambassadors who participated in the RISE program, and even though they may not be from your field, they may still have valuable information about the application process, which is, I mean, really like they can provide general information about just like the recommendation letter, for example, or the application letter, maybe how they did it strategically. So really, I encourage you to get in touch with them and ask them questions about the program itself, but then also the application process.
Well, thank you. Just you might be interested. I spoke to a former student of ours that went on the RISE program.
Oh, great.
And she mentioned that working in that environment really inspired her to continue, and she's in a PhD program now.
Oh, wonderful.
Really inspired by the RISE internship that she had. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Have a good afternoon. Oh, and we are you're gonna send me the recording, so we'll link to that on our website, so the students have the recording if they have anything they want to review.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Perfect. You have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.